Well, it was a shock.
Here's
ruling.
Donald Trump
This
right
is
here,
something
Paula,
that-
just to jump in really quick. We're seeing Donald Trump getting in, leaving Trump Tower, getting into the SUV. This is a lot of deja vu from what we saw 6 months ago when he was doing this exact same thing.
Very lengthy statement attacking Letitia James because it plays into the notion of him as a martyr. But if you just look at it from the point of view of his political campaign, he makes point after point, using quote after quote, of Letitia James as a candidate for office herself. Remember, she was elected as Attorney General. She is a proud Democrat. And so he is trying to turn that very much into the notion of witch hunt. It is different from, let's say, a Jack Smith on the federal level, who is apolitical and nominated because of that or appointed because of that. This is a very different kind of thing, and he clearly feels that it is much easier to make the political argument that this is just Democrats coming after him in a way because they can.
That this is political for the simple fact that Donald...
So to everybody, Donald Trump is now leaving the
Donald Trump
motorcade and he's going to be heading in. It looks like this is as close as cameras are getting right now, but Donald Trump is now heading in to that courthouse.
And there he is. We're about to see, we have a different angle right now.
Take the other camera, guys. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Donald Trump in the courtroom. Let's listen.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time. We have a rogue judge who rules that properties are worth a tiny fraction, 1/100th, a tiny fraction of what they actually are. And this is what we have. It's a scam. It's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal. They are actually less in terms of the numbers used than the
All right,
actual
you've been listening to Donald Trump as he's getting ready to walk into the courtroom. Donald Trump speaking. I think now we know for sure this is a campaign event.
Exactly
for
right.
Donald Trump, more than a legal proceeding. And again, Donald Trump speaking there.
He's still talking.
He's still talking. Kristen, stand by. Donald Trump, among other things, called this judge, Judge Arthur Engoron, a rogue judge. He can't be more than 30 yards from where the judge is right now, behind another door. We should also note the Attorney General of New York is about 30 feet away behind the door that Donald Trump is speaking at right now.
He has a massive platform. He is arguably one of the most famous people in the world. And you see him there headed into court. He was flanked by his lawyers. I'm sure they were not thrilled about this.
Okay, hang on. We have some pictures from inside court. I'm not quite sure. I wonder if this means the judge has ruled.
Yeah.
That is
This is unusual. Do we have audio?
All right, this is Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, sitting right there. You can see Donald Trump sitting there next to his attorney, Christopher Kise, his lead counsel. We are not sure exactly if the judge has ruled on this matter yet,
I
but
see still photogs too.
Nevertheless, you are seeing pictures, and there is the judge himself, Arthur Engoron.
This is really unusual.
This is
Caroline.
It may be that this is a picture. It may be that they're just letting us see where everyone is. No one is speaking now, but even then,
and now
wouldn't that be odd,
nothing.
though, that the judge would just let the camera go without making a judgment beforehand? I mean, he smiled for the camera there. You saw everyone in the court. This is highly unusual.
We have something from Aaron Cooper inside the courtroom. The judge overseeing Trump's civil fraud trial has denied media outlets' request to allow a camera in the courtroom.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip, and Trump appearing today in court for the first day of his trial, which threatens to decimate his entire real estate empire in New York.
This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time. We have a rogue judge. We have a racist attorney general who's a horror show. It's a scam. It's a sham. And our country's gone to hell. It's all run by DOJ, which is corrupt. Frankly, our country is corrupt.
But here is the former president claiming that this lawsuit is part of a coordinated effort by the Department of Justice. Is there any truth in that?
This trial was railroaded and fast-tracked. This trial could have been brought years ago, but they waited till I was right in the middle of my campaign. The same with other trials and indictments. It's all run by DOJ, which is corrupt in Washington. Everything goes through them.
So the DOJ, he says, is part of all of this. Is there any truth to that?
No, there is no truth to that. There's not a shred of evidence that DOJ is the hidden hand behind the scene. This is a state case brought by a state attorney general who Trump correctly noted today and on previous occasions made it part of her campaign platform that she was going to be tough on Trump.
Of course he's angry. How could he not be? He's watching as his company, his 50-plus year company, is in a death spiral. I mean, basically what Tish James did, our unsinkable attorney general, she gave him the corporate death penalty. And Judge Engoron is, in agreement with Tish James that the company should not be able to practice. Neither should Donald, Alan Weisselberg, Don Jr., Eric Trump, or Jeff McConney. None of them should be able to operate any business in the state of New York. So, sure, it's understandable he would be angry. First and foremost, I have now provided testimony to seven different congressional committees, to the Mueller team, to the district attorney on 23 occasions, to the attorney general.
Do you think he can survive? Do you think he can survive a penalty of $250 million, or even potentially more? Because it's really up to the judge what that number ends up being.
Correct. That's also something that people make a terrible mistake with. What Attorney General James stated is that it is a baseline of $250 million, meaning that's the bottom. That doesn't mean that that's the top. And the way I calculate it, based on the information that I know, it's going to be at least double, if not 2.5 times that amount, with penalties and interest and so on. And the answer, Abby, is no. He cannot survive this. He cannot recover from this.
Who are the victims here? I mean, the banks are not saying that they got defrauded in some way. They got a lot of their money, if not all of it, back. So the Trump legal argument defensively has been, what's the big deal? Now, it's not a requirement there actually be a victim, but is that going to hold water?
Well, there's a fundamental concept of law. No victim, no crime. So where's the victim here? One of the banks made $40 million in interest. President Trump paid all his bills. He paid every single thing he owed. He never missed a payment. So you're right, it is a political clown show. But the ringleader is Letitia James, the Attorney General. She's the one who's bringing this politically motivated campaign against President Trump. She said she was going to get Trump as part of her political campaign and tried to throw whatever would stick. She got a judge that's very compliant, that is also out to get Trump. It's very clear. There's no victim. He says that you don't even need an intent to actually defraud. And we're talking about sophisticated banks, right? When he gave his numbers as to what he valued Mar-a-Lago, the judge said it was only $18 million. One of the most famous properties in America, only $18 million. He's putting his judgment over what the banks thought. The banks thought those numbers, whatever they thought of it, they thought it was fine to go forward with President Trump because he paid all his bills.
So you have an issue, in part, from my understanding, with the actual statute, because it does not require that there be the victim in that. So that's one of the issues. But the larger issue, I mean, you and I you've been a trial attorney, I believe, as well. We've all talked about so-called victimless crimes. What about prostitution? Who's the victim? I mean, we talk about societal crimes.
Well, this is helping him. Every time he gets indicted, the American people see this as a sham. This is a mockery of the justice system. It's been weaponized. It's a two-tier system. They wanted to get Trump. Look at the videos of Letitia James on her campaign. She wants to get Trump. She found whatever she could to throw against him. This is a very weak case that would never happen had he not been running for president. Everybody knew he was going to run for president. Everybody knew he was going to run for president. I don't buy that for a moment. This is a coordinated campaign. You see it in New York, and you see it in Georgia. You see it in D.C., in Florida. You see it in the IRS with Hunter Biden. They are going after him because they're afraid that he could get back in the White House. Let the people decide and vote. You don't use the justice system and corrupt it to do an end run around the democratic process. This is exactly what's going on.